Hi, welcome to my very first podcast. This will be a series of podcasts under the umbrella of my business, iListen. For my very first podcast, I wanted to share my story. But for those who know me, I'm not a writer, so I wasn't interested in actually doing a blog, and I didn't want to focus on me in video blogs. So I decided that podcasts would be best because I work better when someone asks me the questions, which is why I have my dear friend Madeline Ingram here today, my journalist friend. And yes, I'm so happy that you're here today to interview me.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Melaida, for giving me the chance to do the first podcast with her. And for trusting me, first of all, right? Because that's a big responsibility. And I know Melaida for a few years right now. And Melaida Corpuz is just a wonderful, dear friend, but also recently an entrepreneur, which makes me really proud in my quality of a friend. But also, I would like to know more about, first of all, who's Melaida for the ones that don't know you, okay. And how in the world you got in the first place in this kind of business?
Okay, well, that's long-winded actually. I'll tell a little bit about my story. I'm obviously an immigrant. I'm from the Philippines. I was born in the Philippines. But I came to Canada when I was a baby. Mm-hmm. We moved to the Northwest Territories from the hot Philippines to the winter. Yes, yeah.
That's a challenge.
yes.
At least from the geographical point of view and the climate point of view, right?
Yes. But being so young, it didn't really affect me as much as my parents did, And I grew to love the town that we lived in, Pine Point, Northwest Territories. I learned to become a figure skater there. That was my passion. And of course I have three brothers, so we were all active in the winter sports, so it was great. But yeah, we were there for a short time because my father had passed away. He's still buried up in the Northwest Territories. And then my mom became a single mother. We moved back to the Philippines just for her to have that period of grieving and figure out what she was going to do with 4 children, one of them being my youngest brother, 2 years old. He was a baby still. So I took on the role of helping my mother be a second mother to my little brother. We eventually moved back to northern Alberta. And so from there I moved to Edmonton, and my life started, working in many careers, working for people, because that's what I knew. Eventually I moved to Calgary, and then I came back here to Edmonton, and I have a wonderful life now with my son and Asia, who's part of our family, and taking care of my mother and my grandmother. So that's my family right now.
Well, when I met Melaida, that's important to say, eh? I met her through a very dear friend of ours, and they worked together at that time. So,
hi, Petro.
Hello. Hi. And Melaida was the first image of, I cannot even recall the name of the company, Rainbow?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, it's not important. So she was the first image of that company when you would enter the door, and she was always smiling and very welcoming and very... So obviously, we shared a lot, right, together in the last few years.
Yes.
And I also know that Melaida used some kind of... replicate, if I can use that word or that verb, your mother's responsibilities in life, right?
Right.
She remained single, alone, with four children.
Yes,
you are raising almost 2 children
Yes.
on your own,
Yes.
and sometimes your nephews and
Yes.
nieces, and so you're also raising children. So you are a single mother,
Yes.
and you've always been a single mother by choice.
Yeah.
And that's important to mention. And I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
But I'm wondering, do you think that actually living in a family with a very strong mother who raised 4 children on her own impacted you in some way, or eventually made you decide that you want to be eventually an owner of a business afterwards? Or
Well, that's a very interesting question because I like to think that I've inherited some of my mother's traits of being a very independent, strong woman, because, like, in my mother's position, she had to be, right? She had to be strong for 4 children in order to raise us, you know, and survive, right? So I think in that sense, becoming a single mother to me just shows that, because I'm in that environment, she was an example. So I see the example of, you know, maybe not asking for help as much, you know, that my mom didn't do, and just being able to provide for and raising these children, and then I'm also teaching them how to be independent, you know, strong-minded individuals, right?
yeah, which is very important. So I'm wondering, after a year or after a lifetime of actually being employed,
Yes.
you decided sometime back in 22 or 2021 or 2020?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, last year. So 2021, you decided that eventually you want to start all over again,
Yeah.
from scratch.
Right.
So I'm in a year of pandemic,
Yeah.
which we know, and we were all affected. And
Yeah.
when people are giving up and they do not know how to adjust to a new reality or new challenges, you basically decided to turn everything in your favor,
Right.
and to start a business.
Yeah.
So why this switch?
I actually would like to thank the pandemic in that way. Had the pandemic not happened, I probably would have still been working for someone, or, you know, working for someone and not being happy, because that's been my history. You know, when it takes its toll on you, you start to think, is it me? You know, with all the bad bosses that I've had a few good ones, but the bad ones seem to stick, right? And so after leaving a company because of a situation like that, I always think, well, you know, is this? I've always questioned, is this the right decision? But what do I do? And I never thought of being an entrepreneur until actually last year. I had, let me see. Let's just go back to the COVID time. So I was actually wanting to upgrade skills. You know, in the sense of, you know, thinking of going back into the workforce during the beginning of the pandemic. But my heart wasn't in it. You know, I wanted to spend time with with the kids, with my family, you know, helping my mom take care of my grandmother. All that was more important to me. So I took the time to kind of figure things out on my own during the pandemic, which that's why I'm grateful for it. But yeah, it was last year. You know, I had a situation happen that was, I don't want to say devastating. I call it a lesson, right? But that lesson, let me tell you, it switched me. When it happened, I had you know, a few days to cry about it, or
May we know?
No,
it's
personal. Very,
no, if you don't want to share, don't.
Sorry.
Just share the result, not the result, the conclusion. The conclusion.
Yeah. When it happened to me, I was devastated, but I mean, it within days after that, I recovered very quickly, and it was, my mindset just switched, and I just said to myself, that's enough. I'm going to go on a different path now. But what that path is, I don't know. I'm just gonna trust the universe, God, whatever. I'm just gonna trust my instincts. And I went on this journey that made me really look internally. So I spent a lot of time, first of all, figuring out, okay, what do those successful people do in life? What are their habits? And so one of them was meditation. So I started to meditate. And then the other one was, how can I make myself a better person, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all human. We make mistakes, and I carry those mistakes with me maybe too hard in the past. So in order to move forward, I decided to take a bunch of, just self-development stuff, like Tony Robbins. There was Peter Sage. I'm a big fan of the Secret, Rhonda Byrne. So all these things I started studying and realizing, I can change my destiny. Even though I don't know the path, every step brought me closer, right? So I started to figure out, well, what are my passions? What do I really, really want to do with my life?
So what are your passions, Melaida?
So the first passion that came to me was I get a joy out of helping people. Me and my son, we volunteer at this seniors center. And every time I volunteer there, I get a sense of fulfillment, of joy. Mm-hmm. And so I knew I wanted to do something where I'm helping people. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I started to do a lot of that, figuring out, what are my passions, and
so helping people was one of your passions. That you work with people when you're employed in companies, but not at this level.
No.
And how did you find the path? Like, helping people means so many things, right? Caring about people. I don't know, working in a food industry, you care about people, right? Being a psychologist, you care about, right? Working in student services, right? So, but still, right? So how did you find... So for the ones that are watching the podcast right now, so your business is called iListen, as you might see on my t-shirt, iListen.
Yes.
And so basically, listening is your job.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, first of all, why listening?
Okay, so actually this idea didn't come to me. It was the idea of a friend who's also an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Denise and Robin. She was actually the one who got me on this entrepreneur path, because I told her my history of bad bosses and bad work history, and she says, for as long as I've known you, Melaida, you're not the type to work for somebody. You have that personality to go on your own path and become an entrepreneur. And I said, okay, if you see that, then
that's new to me.
You to me. So what do I do? So she said, let's figure that out. Let me help you. So I did my stuff, and then her husband actually came up with the idea of becoming a listener to people. Mm-hmm. And so at first I thought, I'm not sure about that, but let me just write that down. And I started to do research. And this listening business is actually, there's only a handful in the U.S., a couple in Europe, and I thought, maybe they're onto something. And
they found a niche.
Yeah.
And you found it in a way that might align with whatever you're thinking about people. But why listening? Because I'm listening to you, but that's not a business to me, right?
Right. So the other side of my business too is wanting to educate people on how to be better listeners. Mm-hmm. Because in my experience, and you probably had it too, I don't know anyone who's not had this experience, when you're talking in a conversation with somebody, I've had so many examples. I actually had one lady I met years ago at a party. She was a friend of a friend, and I'm the type of person who's pretty authentic. So when you ask me a question, I answer, I respond, without even thinking about it, right? And she started to ask, how are you? What do you do? Right? And then somehow we got into, too much information, where she was asking about my job and my finances. But because she was asking it, I was answering, right? And I knew in my brain, it was like, this is too much, but she's asking me too much. And then she started criticizing me and telling me, you should probably save your money, or you should, and I was in my 20s then, so I was not a very responsible person. I was having fun, right? So, but the fact that this person was already judging me just by that first meeting, really, like, I walked away from that conversation feeling crappy about myself. And no one should ever be made to feel like that, right? And so I ended up meeting this really good friend of mine now. He's from the U.S. James. Hi, James. Thank you so much. We spent hours talking, and we're talking like 4, 5, 6 hours just talking. But the thing with him was, at the end of every conversation, he would say to me, "Do you feel complete?" Who says that, right? Who asks that of somebody when they're spilling out their heart and soul and venting and just wanting to express themselves? Who says that? And when he said that to me, "Do you feel complete?" Every time he said that, I felt complete, because I finally expressed something. He made me feel like I was the only person in the room, and I was, and I felt better about myself, and that's how it should be, right? So he was my example of, this is how people should listen to other people. And so I took that, and I'm guilty of it too. I interrupt people, but now that I'm in this business, I try to be more aware, now that I've been trained, and I'm still training, to learn how to be a better listener, right? So yeah, that is why listening is so important to me, because listening can create a lot of healing, but it also can create great relationships.
Oh, totally. And it's actually at the base of communication, right?
Right.
Communication cannot be happening if I don't listen what you're saying.
Yes.
And if I'm not willing to be actively listening, right?
Yeah.
Like to be an active listener. And there are, so many jobs related to the listening part and so on and so forth. But what is a listening business? So, because I'm thinking, okay, I listen to you.
Yeah.
But again, this is not my business.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Well, and actually I wish the idea came to me before the pandemic or during the pandemic. Because
you would have had a lot of work.
and you know what? That's still, from the statistics and the research that I've seen, it's not going to stop. There are people out there who always need someone to listen to them, not just to listen to them, but to listen to them without judgment, compassion, empathy, understanding. So my clients that would come to me are people who just need someone to talk to, right? There are people out there who don't have anyone to talk to, or maybe, for example, I don't want to give this example too often, but there are spouses or partners or boyfriends and girlfriends who might have someone in their life that don't really listen to them the way they should be heard, right? And they need to vent, right? And I know with myself, if my friend is not available, I'll call someone else up to say, "Hey, I just need to let this out. Can you just listen to me? Don't say anything. Just let me. Don't give me any advice or any suggestions. I don't need a solution. I just need to express this, right?"
So basically, your business, it is concentrating itself on the listening part of human relationships.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that a business, or I'm wondering, who are your clients? Like, I can be your client for sure, but without providing any result, what is the final kind of outcome? I'm some kind of thinking, right?
When my client speaks?
Yes. When they just come and they just are there in a listening kind of process.
Right. So my purpose and my hope is that when you come to me for a session, and I'm listening to you the way you should be listened to, I'm hoping that you feel a sense of relief. I hope you feel that there's a little bit of healing, but I also hope you feel complete when you talk to me. You vented, and now you can say, "Okay, I feel better." Right? That's what I want to hear from my clients. So,
And I know you envision to offer workshops as well.
Yes.
So the workshops are related to the listening part.
Yes.
But not only to individuals, but to companies as well, like
Absolutely.
organizations and all sorts of eventually collaborations with, I don't know, government, who knows?
Yeah, that would be great. I actually did my first ever class on listening for businesses. The most important thing, especially with growing businesses, small business owners, the big thing for them is to be able to listen to their client. You need to listen to what your audience needs. You know, that's how you're going to become successful, right? So it's that was what I was doing, is training these people how to listen better. So that would be one aspect. Another would be within the organization is the communication, you know, with your superiors and the subordinates, or even between colleagues and co-workers, right? Listening is a communication skill. So it's very important to be successful in business.
I'm thinking that, first of all, you also listen to yourself, right?
Absolutely.
How is that path to get to that inner voice of your soul,
Oh my
and
goodness.
to basically find that strength to look in the mirror and to understand in a very intimate way eventually what your soul is saying?
You know, and I didn't actually start listening to me until this past year when I went on this journey. And I noticed that it's, now that I've gone on this journey, it's become even stronger. So I'm listening to my instincts or my intuition even more, you know, especially when I make decisions, which, you know, 2 years ago even, I wouldn't even have known what that was all about, right? But now I can, especially sitting in silence, when you have a question that you need answered for yourself, that's what I do, is I sit in silence and I listen to what my voice says. And so far, on this journey, it's been the answers have been amazing.
That is lovely. I know you participate to so many conferences.
Yeah.
You're creating speeches already. You started your workshops.
Yes.
In a bunch of organizations, and then you're preparing like to hand out a bunch of information to the people in the community out there to just promote your business.
Yes.
And these podcasts actually are part of this listening skill also. So I'm wondering, when you made that switch from the employee status to the entrepreneur, what were the major fears
oh my goodness
that you had to overcome?
Wow. The first and biggest one for me was having that mindset that I was going to work for somebody, because that's what I've known all my life, and that's what I've known.
For how many years?
Oh my
I'm not asking your age.
Yeah.
I just want to know for how many years you had that mindset, because that's also important, right?
Right.
It's one thing to function like 5 years in that mindset or with that mindset, and then eventually, or 30 years, right? Like the switch is even harder.
Yeah.
Or
we're
to
talking
make the
20 plus years. That's what I knew, you know. And then when I met people who were entrepreneurs, I didn't even believe. I just thought, I can't attain that. I don't know, you know. But again, I'm telling you, something happened last year that brought me to this destiny now.
So being brave to listen to your inner voice, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But how do you find the strength, and how do you know that's the path you want to be on?
Again, it's listening to myself. It's like, I can't even explain it. After my friend had told me, you know, it was like the outsider looking in, saying, Melaida, you're not meant to be someone working for somebody else. You are meant to be someone working for yourself. So when that mindset switched, it was actually a challenge, right? Because, like I said, even going through these steps in this journey was all about, well, I can't believe this is happening. You know, I always, in the back of my mind, thought I'm going to go back to working for somebody else, right? So the fear was that I was probably going to go back to working for somebody else, right? Again, it's all a mindset. Yeah, I can't even explain it.
What other fears you had to overcome? Like, I'm thinking when you start a business, like, I don't even know where to start. I always had my business on the top of other jobs that I had.
Yeah.
So I was never completely only with my business.
Right.
But I'm that type of person. I'm functioning in multiple kind of settings.
Right.
So, and I always developed my own thing aside.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking to get out of the employment story.
Yeah.
So completely out of the status of employee and to be on your own.
Yeah.
That means also financial instability, being as a single mother.
Yeah.
I think my biggest fear would always be I wouldn't be able to cope with so many financial demands, first of all, right?
Right, yeah. I guess it helps that I live with my mother,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm helping to take care of her and my grandmother. So I think in that sense, there's a sort of security, but also the support of the community, the people that are a part of my life who are willing to support me. But also the fact that I've found resources that a lot of people don't know about, when you become a business owner. Thank you again, Anderson Career Training Institute. I was part of this business program that was free, government funded. Had I not taken that program, there's no way I would be where I am today. That I wouldn't even know where to start to become a business owner, right? So just the fact that all these things, when you got my mind set to something, it all started falling into place.
So basically, you found the resources as a result of you deciding that you want to go on a certain path.
That's what happened.
And that happened when you listen to your inner voice.
Yes.
So,
crazy.
hear it out, guys. This is what you need to do, eh? Find some time.
Yeah.
I don't know about meditation in my case.
Yeah.
But anyhow, find some time and do that internal work within yourself.
You need to,
and then eventually you're going to find all the answers.
Yeah, because if you, I've actually known people who, I want to be a business owner, but what do I do? And then, they're, well, just like my friend, she gave me the idea, but I had to look internally to see if that's actually what I really wanted to do. And it made sense from my own experience, But then you got people who want to be a business owner and they don't have an idea. And then they listen to the first person that tells them what to do, this restaurant or whatever. But that's not their real passion. And then it doesn't become something that they're passionate about. It's just like an average job. So you really, when you become a business owner, you really have to look within. And that's what I did. I did a lot of soul searching. And now I know that my message is to tell the whole world, hey, let me help you become a better listener, because I tell you, your life is going to change if you become a better listener.
Once you decided you want to go on this path, were you listened for real by the people around you?
Wow.
The switch is interesting.
Oh.
And the change of status is also when it comes to people like your friends and your family.
Yeah.
People that would eventually rely on you, right?
Yeah.
They got to use with a certain status you
Yeah.
had and
Yeah.
a certain role.
Yeah.
And now you don't have that anymore,
Yeah.
and you're changing. So sometimes the change is hard to be managed.
Yes.
Just because it's changing the routine of something,
Yes,
right? So
yeah.
I'm thinking if you had that type of experience.
Well, for me, since I've been on this path, they say that with entrepreneurs, you're a business owner, you're working a lot of overtime, which, as you know, I've been I've been doing a lot, managing, the family and the kids, and other things as well. But I'm finding that when I'm on that computer and I'm looking at this stuff about listening, I get it's so enthralled in it. It consumes me, but in a good way. I'm part of the I'm a member actually of the International Listening Association.
Which exists.
Yes.
So you guys are professional listeners. Are you trained to be a professional listener?
Well, that actually association, a lot of the people in there are professors or people who want to be better listeners in every aspect of life. And they actually have, they do have a program. It's a certified listening professional, which I am planning to take. But in the meantime, I've got all these resources. I'm taking all these courses to be a trained active listener, effective listener. And then this association gives you all that resource, right? When you become a member. I also have what they call a listening buddy, but I consider her my mentor and coach. And she's a wonderful person. Thank you, S.A.
So all these people that helped you eventually in your growth,
Yeah.
in your personal growth, and then eventually the professional growth.
Yes.
Obviously, they would not have been there if you would not have made that decision to eventually go on this path.
I totally agree with you. Like I said, when I set my mind to this, as my program, ACTI, had said, when you have set the resolve to do what you want to do, which is do this journey as an entrepreneur, especially in listening, everything circumstances, the people. Like, I've met so many people in the entrepreneur world now because of this decision I made. And they have just been wonderful. They have been so supportive. They've been so inspirational. And then friends like you who've been, you know, there even before this journey who support me. It's just, I'm so grateful.
Aw, that's lovely. That is lovely. Well, I guess the universe really gives you what you need once
Absolutely.
you make the decision, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's working in many, well, at least, you know, based on my personal experiences,
Yes.
it has always been like that.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, because people might want to know how your activity, like your day-to-day activity, your daily activity, and your routine looks like. So I would like to know. I'm coming to iListen.
Yeah.
Why and when? If I need what?
So
type of service.
Yeah.
First of all.
Basically, we're open daily.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to book online, www.iListenCanada.com. If you go into our services, you can book a session with me. And, you know, we're pretty much open 9 a.m. till 11. So given that I have availability, right, because I do have, you know, I'm planning to do training and workshops as well, but there's a lot of space. So just book when you want to, and it's all online.
So if I am dealing with whatever the hard things I'm dealing in my life,
Yeah.
if I want to be a better professional, right?
Yeah.
If I want to, I don't know, develop some kind of personal skills,
Mm-hmm.
Am I booking this meeting with you? If I want to just be listened without prejudice, without any kind of stereotypes, without without being judged, but
Yes.
without necessarily having a resolution on my problems, right?
Right.
And just to clear up my mind,
Yes.
or to structure my ideas, maybe,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because some of the ideas eventually are going to fall into place
Yes.
if you're going to talk about them and if
Yes.
you're going to share them with somebody.
Exactly.
Right?
So I find that sometimes when you're, even for myself, when I have an issue and I maybe I do want an answer, but I just want my friend to listen to me first.
Mm-hmm.
I end up, while I'm talking, figuring out the answers myself sometimes. It's like, oh, okay, I mentioned that. Oh, yeah, I guess I could do this. And then my friend wouldn't have said anything. They were just there to listen, right? So with my service, you know, hopefully that's one of the other things that you can get out of your session with me is, you know, maybe getting more clarity on some of the things that you were thinking about, or as you were talking, figuring things out yourself. But on the training side, I'm hoping that, you know, I could take, you know, groups in. I know I've had a few men tell me, several told me that they would love to have a session on how to listen better for their wives. So that seems to be...
they are married already.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, those men. But you might want to train other people, right?
Yeah, relationships.
That's an amazing thing,
Yeah.
right? And there are many approaches to that, right? So we are talking a lot about communication, and in all this kind of crazy society, when we have all these kind of solutions to communicate, it seems like we talk, we share information, and then we are on a speedy kind of against the clock, and always on the opposite direction. And it's so hard to slow down and basically listen to ourselves, listen to our inner soul, and eventually listen to each other and to the other people.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so where do I find you, Melaida?
Well, you can go on all of my social media, you know, Facebook at iListen Canada, Instagram at iListen Canada, Twitter at iListen Canada. I'm also on LinkedIn and iListen Canada. And then, of course, I have my website, iListenCanada.com. So plenty of information. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. So
well, I'm so glad, Melaida, you thought first of all of this idea, and I truly believe it is a tremendous important skill in basically any kind of type of activity you might have. and I'm really, really keeping my fingers crossed for
Thank
you.
you.
And to achieve your dreams, and then eventually to have a nice shape. I think you're full of potential.
Thank you very
And the
much.
business is full of potential.
Thank
also.
you.
So I know there is a International Listening Day.
There is, yes, and we've got some plans ahead for that special day.
So that's on the 15th of September,
September
right?
15th, yes. It's the International Day of Listening. If you go to my website, actually, on their stories, I'm going to have updates on that there, but we do have a lot of stuff coming up ahead in the next couple of months before that day. So,
Lovely.
yes.
Lovely. And I strongly believe we need to be listened to.
Yes, don't we all?
Thank you so much, Melaida.
Well,
that was a pleasure to
thank you,
hang
Maddie.
out with you tonight.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, this afternoon, whatever.
Yeah.
And wish you good luck.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were here to spend the time with me and talk about my passion.
I listen to her and to you.
Thank you.